we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for a crucially important announcement. Nah, it's just an article. But I decided to do it as a video. Hey, welcome to According to Devs. I'm your host, Coco Real, and I'm here to share with you conversations I've had with the third-party devs for Nebula Realms. I found the conversations really interesting, actually. Basically, it's reflections on the past and hopes for the future. So, without further ado, let's get into this. Now, just a disclaimer before I really get started. I would be remiss if I did not mention the fact that I had the intention of speaking directly with Cepheus Studios. Unfortunately, however, I messaged them on Facebook and they did not respond, of course, and it just got a little message that said that we do not respond to Facebook Messenger, so please send us an email. And I promptly did so. However, they did not respond at all. But it is my understanding that this is common practice. It's kind of sad though, because I can remember once when I was on the team to help get Nebula's name out, even before PlayStation Home closed. One of the things they said was that they would never neglect the public and that they would always respond. But I guess times change. Maybe they did it for a good reason. I don't know. Personally, I don't think there is one. But I would not be Coco Real if I did not mention that. With that being said, let's move on to those who do value what we have to say and keep it moving. First up, we have Cepheus Studios. Now, I don't know too much about them, but we can always go to the page and see for ourselves what it says. Now, notice under quality assurance it said, "We aim to provide nothing but high quality content to your game and ours." Also, in the About Us section, it said, Cepheus Studios is a small indie developing studio that is located in Pennsylvania, USA. We focus all of our passion, sweat, and blood into the games we create. We will develop games with internal resources and distribute it worldwide. We will not only develop our own games, but we will create content for other games. In addition, we will coordinate fun events, polls, contests in time to come. Are you completely new to PlayStation Virtual Worlds? Now, I'll be honest and say that I really wanted to ask more questions when I saw that answer, but Cepheus Studios seemed pretty tight-lipped. You know what? I'm just going to leave it up to speculation and just give my 2 cents. I think that definitely PlayStation Home had a huge impact on their choice to become a dev. I mean, I can't say that I haven't thought about doing things of that nature myself, so who else would? There's countless of people who would definitely, I think, be inspired by the innovation that was in PlayStation Home. So that's my 2 cents. What drew you to Nebula Realms in particular? Cepheus Studio replies, "It's hard to choose from so many reasons why I was drawn to Nebula Realms. For one, I do believe Nebula Realms is the next successor for PlayStation Home, despite what others may say. What really drew me in is the community Shylock was able to form and continues to form, with the help of their moderators and community advising team." That's an interesting answer. I don't know. I have my own ideas of how I feel about the advising team. And that's going to stay exactly where it's going to stay. I hope the best for Nebula Realms. So far, it's where we are. We'll see how the progression goes. I think it's cool that they have so much faith in this platform. If you did experience PlayStation Home, or even other interactive virtual worlds, what about them didn't you like? Wow, I found it very interesting. That there aren't any things that they don't like about any of the virtual worlds that they've encountered. I know personally, one of the things I can't stand about Second Life is the filing system. It is a blessing and a curse balled up into one, and you never know which one it's going to be. And for Nebula Realms, it irks me to no end that you get kicked when someone who owns an apartment goes into a wardrobe. Or the whole fact that you go offline to other people when you go in wardrobe, period. That is so annoying. So, I don't know. I guess maybe they're an optimist and I'm overly critical. Also, if you notice, the answer to question 3 is labeled as number 4. But the information syncs up. So let's just pretend you didn't see that. Next, how do you envision an ideal progression for Nebula Realms in conjunction with Cepheus Studios? Cepheus Studios responds, between Nebula Realms and PlayStation Home is a major difference. I can't really compare PlayStation Home to Nebula Realms because there really isn't anything to compare the two. Nebula Realms has more features PlayStation Home didn't have, and it will continue to receive more features than PlayStation Home had. Straight to the point. I see exactly where they're coming from. There are definite differences between Nebula Realms and PlayStation Home. I cannot honestly say, when you think about what was in PlayStation Home, that, Nebula Realms is completely different, except for in the design and the menu layouts. Definitely, it's cool to be able to add emojis to your text, and yeah, I think that's really cool, and have moods and whatnot. But otherwise, I'm thinking, in my opinion, that there are way more similarities than it's being stated. I think it's going to be a minute, though, before we get to really see the potential of Nebula, and I understand that. Just like any virtual world, it takes time to get off its feet. So, I see where you're coming from. Let me be clear. The main difference, in my opinion, is the ability to layer clothing and the ability to have multiple skin tones off the rip. However, the skin tones are really odd, and that needs to get fixed. Okay, moving on. What's your personal style? If you were on PlayStation Home, what's another dev that you admire and really appreciate the innovation of? So there were a couple of questions that the original answers were kind of muddled to. So this is a jumble of 4, 5, and 6. What's going on is that the dev responded to me in an interesting order, but I'll try to put it together. Hold on, bear with me. So I asked the question, what did Cepheus Studios see for themselves in the future as far as Nebula goes? Their response was number 5, which is, my vision for Nebula Realms is bring new fresh content and listen to the players. Now, number 6 question was who did they admire? And who was it that they could, see inspiration in? Well, they gave a long list. Kovac Shylock Studios, Jam Games, Lockwood, InDreams, Granzella, Mad Monkey Games, Irem, Outso, Vimy, Loot, Code Glue, and Peakbox. There are many other developers, but the list can go on for a while. Each developer group brought their own quality and their own innovative ideas to the game, which made them all unique, which is what we want to do for Nebula Realms. So, that pretty much says what their intent is, and I guess I have to be honest, I do admire all of the devs from PlayStation Home. They all brought something different, and hopefully we can get the same type of variety in Nebula going forward, so. And that concludes my interview with the awesome Cepheus Studios. I just want to take this time to thank you for tuning in and watching this interview, or, recap of an interview. I really appreciate you stopping by and checking out what's here. I want to remind you that I still have to go over the interview that I had with Juggernaut. So, if you're interested and you enjoyed what you saw, please stay tuned for next month's installment. I hope that you get a chance to see it because I think it's pretty awesome, and Juggernaut is very expressive. I love that about them. I would like to take this time to thank Cepheus Studios for allowing me to ask them questions because they didn't have to. And while I have my own opinions, that in no way detracts away from their awesomeness. But then how could it? It can't. So thank you again for tuning in, and I'd like to thank Cepheus Studios for being awesome sauce. Take care. This has been your Risque News Break. According to Devs, with Coco Real.